Anthropic destroyed millions of print books to build its AI models. So, what does this mean? What happened? Let's talk about it. So, okay. So, I at first thought that this was going to be one of those issues where there was a lot of misinformation about it and like the headline isn't really exactly what you think it is. There's a little bit of that, but it's kind of exactly what you think it is. It's kind of exactly as bad as you think it is. So, what happened was Anthropic, specifically, probably the other AI companies are doing this too. They bought a lot of books because it trains their AI model. So a lot of people think that AI works by like scanning the internet and giving you options. That's not exactly how it works, because you would run into certain legal issues with like copyright and stuff when you just like scan the entire internet. There's a lot of things. I mean, they skirt a lot of stuff with copyright. It's a whole thing, but basically the reason that Anthropic is doing this is because they want to train their AI on more obscure books so that there's fewer AI tells. So you know how like we rip on like, Sponge Truths and all this for like stuff like it's not this, it's this, and honestly, I think, like these sorts of AI tells. They're, I think, trying to combat that a little bit and just give their like AI thing more to say. So by doing that, they get these books and they scan the books and that goes into the model. So the reason that this is controversial is because they're buying books that are like kind of like rare or not super well known, to the point where some of these books could be like the last or some of the last copies of a book that exists. So you might be thinking, why are they destroying them? So why are they actually destroying the books? So they're not destroying the books on purpose. That would be too like obviously evil. The reason that they're destroying the books is kind of twofold. One is that the actual physical process of scanning the books themselves would take too long if you actually like opened the book. Like you would, like what it does is it's a machine and it cuts the book at the spine and then it puts all the pages into a thing and it scans each individual page. So it kind of destroys the integrity of the book. Now from there, it's like, well, the pages still exist. Like why do the pages get destroyed? And that's where it gets into kind of shady territory where it's like they're destroying the pages almost kind of willingly. One, because they don't need them anymore. Like they don't care. Like what they're going to try to preserve it. Like that's not worth their time to do. Like they aren't going to try. And I'm not saying that to defend them. I'm just saying that that's their mindset. Is they're like, what, I'm going to sit here and keep this in a warehouse, with whatever book this is. Like they already did what they wanted with it. Like they might as well throw it away. If that's your mindset, your anti-intellectual mindset, not doing it on purpose. If they know the process of scanning these books to train the AI destroys the book, they're doing it on purpose. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, that is correct. But what I mean is by not on purpose, I mean, they're not destroying them like for the love of the game, like they're not like the actual like cutting of the book's spine is like the justification is them going like, we wouldn't be able to actually scan all these books otherwise. That's the like I'm not saying that's I think they're wrong to do this, but that's like what it means is like, it's good to know that that's why it's happening. So like the main controversy is that some of the books could be like rare or like one of the last copies or like this or that and the other thing, and it's like kind of a, burning of Library of Alexandria kind of feeling of like you're destroying knowledge, that sort of thing. And I titled this segment very provocatively. I called it, "You Are a Bad Person If You're Okay With This." And the reason I called it that was one, because I like to be a little spicy with this sort of stuff, especially when it's a position where I think that the people who hold the opposite position are abhorrent. Like there are some things that I argue about where I think that the people who disagree with me aren't like bad people for it. This, I think you are. I do think you are. And I think that it's not so much the destruction of like potentially rare books or just the destruction of books in general that's the problem here. But you also have to think, what is this for? Why are they doing this? For example, if destroying these books led to a good outcome, like it ended world hunger, Like, let's say there was a magic wizard who could turn books into food, but every 100 books has to be a rare book that's almost out of print. Maybe that might be a good trade to save people's lives. Maybe. You'd have to weigh it out. I think it would be. I think it might be fine. And let's be honest, a lot of these old books, like as much as I love the keeping of human knowledge, like I'm sure whatever these old books are, the reason that they're old is that they weren't really that popular. They weren't really that well known. I mean, maybe there's a hidden gem in there, and by destroying it, we'll never know if there was some kind of hidden gem of human knowledge. And just the principle of destroying the human knowledge, that kind of sucks. But what I'm getting at is, if there was a good reason to destroy such things, maybe it would be okay. There kind of isn't one. That's why I came up with an outlandish example like a wizard solving world hunger by destroying books. There really wouldn't be a good reason to ever do this. But let's talk about the reason they're doing this. It's to train an AI model that talks to you as if it's a person. What could that ever be used for? So Anthropic is the one who does Claude. Their thing is that they are more about the AI coding. That's like a bigger thing. Like Claude is considered like, I guess in the AI world, like the good AI. If there is. And I don't think there is such a thing as a good AI, but there's like people who are like, oh yeah, like AIs are like so bad. Like Anthropic and the Claude has really been better at laundering its reputation as opposed to like things like ChatGPT with like Sam Altman being like kind of like a psycho, like obviously Grok, we all know, is like Anthropic has really been good at preserving their reputation to the point where I think that people who are more lenient on chatbots and aren't completely against the principle of chatbots could maybe try to justify it to themselves that like Anthropic is like the good one. But they're also more about coding. That's like more of their thing. Well, I don't know that much about AI coding. I don't really argue about AI coding very much. I'd say with like AI coding, I would say that I definitely lean towards like, it's probably not super bad, but it could be dangerous because it's going to mess up actual like thought of something. It's like with anything that does something for you, you need to have some kind of discretion on like, are we missing out on progress by not doing the process of like coding? And so I'm and I could probably be convinced otherwise. I lean towards no on AI coding. I definitely lean towards, I think it's probably bad. But that might just mostly be because I think that generative AI is cringe, and most people who are okay with AI coding also like generative AI in general. So that kind of clouds my judgment on it, to be sure. And I also don't know very much about coding. I am not a coder. I've never coded. I don't know the actual consequences of what AI coding would do. So I have no idea. So I'm going to admit that I have no idea. I am a writer, so I know that there's no utility for AI ever writing because I know how writing works. So with that being said, what would these books ever do? Well, it has nothing to do with coding because AI coding would need to know code, not books. What would an out-of-print book from the 1970s do to help Anthropic make you vibe code better? Show me an argument. Okay, bust on that. What does it actually do? I mean, people always bring up the whole like cancer curing AIs. Does a bunch of old books, is that going to do anything with that? Is that going to make it easier to cure cancer, to identify tumors? Don't think so. I think what you're going to need is a bunch of images of tumors. A bunch of images of tumors before they develop. And then the machine learning can understand how to identify those things. Got nothing to do with generating text. So I don't really see how a book's going to help with that. What these books are for, what these books are being destroyed in favor of, is a thing that imitates a person. That's what it's for. That's what it's for imitating people. Why does a thing that is not people need to imitate a people? I don't know. What is the purpose of that? And really, the only purpose is deceit. Deceit either of others or deceit of yourself. Deceit of others in the sense of the obvious one, like scams, AI writing out scam emails, sending out scam emails. It can produce more scam emails, more possible prompts for such things. It can produce it faster than any person could ever sit and type it. and come up with different things to say. There's one thing. Acting like it's people, acting like it's a person. Comments on Reddit. Probably be a couple of comments in this very Reddit post that are bots. That's like most of Twitter now, right? Didn't it come out that like most of Twitter is like foreign bots pretending to be conservatives because really conservatism isn't that popular, so bots have to prop it up like it's a real ideology. Like, sure, it's good for that. Impersonating people. Having text be presented to people that people who see that text think was written by a person, but actually wasn't. That's one thing that it's for. It could also be for creative writing, writing a book, writing a YouTube video, writing a movie. As we've demonstrated, there is no reason to ever have something generated do that. What would be the point? What's the point of an AI-generated book? Really, what is the point? If you understand what the point of art is, there is none. If you think that art is just about wasting your time looking at something, then you could believe, oh, what's the difference between an AI-generated show or a AI-generated book if it's just the whole point is to waste my time? But that's not the social function of the arts. The social function of the arts is to broaden our perspectives, teach moral lessons, challenge power, all this sort of stuff, get us in touch with our emotions if it's like music or something, you know. There is a social function of art. Art provides things beyond base entertainment. And if AI is out there diluting that in favor of it just being base waste of time entertainment, that makes the world worse. It makes us less thoughtful and less empathetic. So there's no reason for it to create art. There's no reason for it to create. And you might be thinking, well, like, what if it just writes the parts of the book that are not important? And then I, the creative, write the important parts. Well, then you don't understand what writing is, because in a book, everything is important. Every part of the book is important. So you should probably rethink if you consider yourself a writer, if you think that AI can do the unimportant parts, because if you don't even understand that every part of a book is important, then you probably have no business being a writer. And the last thing that it can do is it can pretend to be a person to talk to. And the more books you feed it, the more of the sum of human knowledge that it gets, the more different things that it can do, the more it will, in theory, sound like a person. I don't really think that'll happen. I think that all it will do is give it more of a variety of things to say. I don't really think that there's something in books that is ever going to make an AI chatbot sound like a person. Highly doubt that. This is still deceit. But you're deceiving yourself when you're talking to a chatbot like it's a person. And the most extreme version of this is obviously the AI girlfriends or AI companions or all this sort of stuff. Like, that's the most extreme version. We all know about that one. I don't know if Claude really does that. I think there might even be some guardrails on that. I think the AI girlfriend thing, it's so commonly addressed where it's like, ooh, we don't want people having AI girlfriends, that like, I think the AI companies kind of cracked down on it for liability. But what I actually mean is the more sinister problem with AI chatbots is giving you advice, is running your life, is trying to have any effect on the things that you do, because it's just going to give you nothing of substance, just as it doesn't do anything of substance with movies or TV shows. It won't do anything of substance when it comes to helping you. It can give you some base information. And then from there, you're going to use confirmation bias to convince yourself that this is good, because it gives you a sometimes dopamine rush, especially because it flatters you. And it also will create, this is actually one problem with books, is that something that AI can do is that it will make the things that it says to you seem fresh and new by adding on more than what you asked of it. We saw this in my Hank Green segment, where I tested out an AI and I saw what AI would be like if AI wrote my videos, which I would never have AI do, where it gave me more information than I actually asked it for. And that does give people a dopamine rush. That's what this is destroying books for, so that something can pretend to be a person. There is no reason for this to exist. There really isn't. I have never seen an argument for why. Think about it. When you're making an argument for this in favor, is the argument easily debunked by just going, maybe I shouldn't be lazy, or maybe I should learn better social communicative skills? Oh, well, like maybe it can help me write like an office email. Well, maybe you should learn better social communicative skills. Maybe you'd be better off if you learned how to write an office email yourself. and we don't want all office emails to be exactly the same wording. Maybe there's a social importance to email communication being something that is at each individual person's discretion. And maybe if you don't do it right every time, maybe you either need to learn how to do it or maybe that's just fine. There really is no argument in favor of the existence of these things. And the reason that we are being collectively gaslit into thinking that there is anything okay about these things is because of just widespread logical fallacy and just how much these things tried to convince you that it's normal that these things exist, making them advanced search. You know, confirmation bias is a big one. Someone uses an AI for an advanced search and they feel like it was so useful. There you go. You got confirmation bias right there. So really, when I say you are a bad person if you're okay with this, I'm actually meaner than you might think. I'm not just saying that you're a bad person if you think that some old books that have been out of print should be destroyed. I do think that. I do think you're a bad person if you're okay with that. But honestly, I think that you're a bad person if you're just okay with the existence of chatbots. I'm sorry. Like, you want the world to be worse for no other reason than you feel insecure about something yourself. You have an insecurity and AI makes you feel like you can overcome that insecurity. You need AI to write? Maybe you're a bad writer. Maybe you need to address it or quit. Oh, I need AI to help me with my daily routine. Well, maybe you should organize your life a little better. And you don't have real arguments. None of you ever do. I've never seen a pro AI person with an actual argument. If they had actual arguments, they would be not wrong. So that's kind of the problem with, being wrong is that you don't have actual arguments. You have to resort to logical fallacy. And real quick, I'd like to give a thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members. If you'd like to support the channel and get your name up here, either join below for channel memberships or for Patreon, which has some extra perks. Check the link in the description. So someone asked a question earlier and they said, would you get rid of all AI, like including cancer detecting AI? I think it's a fun question for sure, but it definitely leans into a bit of logical fallacy, like traps. First thing to address with that question is we just don't live in that reality. Like, you can have the one that scans for cancer and not have the one that tries to write movies. Like, those things are not related to each other. They just aren't. From there, really, I mean, you just would have to weigh which one is more catastrophic, like what's worse. It's probably the obvious answer. I probably would rather it have, depending on how good it was at detecting cancer. Like, if it was ideally 100% of the time, or even 90% of the time, even 50% of the time, if it just detected cancer and saved millions of people's lives, from knowing that they have cancer and they can get things removed immediately, you're that probably would do more good than the harm that would be caused by AIs that write movies and the existence of sponge truths and stuff. I think it's a pretty easy answer to a question. Not to say, and that doesn't diminish how important the arts are, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the arts maybe are that important. Maybe that would lead to even more death. Cause if you think about it, if the arts are destroyed and people stop thinking critically and people don't meaningfully challenge power, well, then you have, does healthcare really matter if the arts are gone and more people become conservative because the arts aren't there to challenge the status quo? And then the more people become conservative, no one can even afford healthcare. So what does it matter if you have AIs that detect cancer if you don't have healthcare to even do anything about it? I don't think that that's the case. I think that's a little silly and definitely catastrophizing. I don't think that, but I guess it is something. I guess what I will twist your question into is, let's consider the value of the arts and how much that could make a difference in the world beyond it just being the arts are entertaining, while not diminishing the importance of doctors and cancer research and all that sort of stuff, because I would not. I make jokes all the time where I'll be like, hey, I think what I do is important, but I'm not a paramedic, I'm not a fireman or some guy in an ambulance. Do those people deserve more respect than me? Sure. I don't need to compete with them. I think I deserve a good amount of respect, but I don't need more than them. So it's okay. Asking again, what do you think of AI being used to search for things like explaining objective math exercises? I want to say it's bad, but I'm struggling to form an argument. Well, explaining is so I have said that AI being very advanced search would be world-changing technology. And the fact that the AI that could be advanced search is being muddied by destroying books so it can be a chat bot that flatters you. And that makes people like me, like I don't use AI for advanced search. But if AI didn't talk to you, if AI didn't try to talk to you, if AI was a utilitarian search tool, I would use it to search for stuff for sure. If it gave me exact sources, if it gave me exact images I was looking for, not generating images, like exact images that it's like trying to find, that would be world changing. But you're saying things like explaining objective math exercises. So the problem with that is the explaining, is it's creating the text. That's where I take issue. If it went and found an exact explanation of that math exercise from someone else and gave it to you, that would be great. But the fact that it's explaining it, the fact that it's creating the text, that's the problem. It's getting that text from somewhere else. And that dilutes your ability to properly learn the stuff on its own. And again, there could be niche exceptions. Or there could be like niche moments where like someone could say to that, they could go, but I had it give me an answer and that was correct. So, aha. But you keep, you got to not with this stuff, look at it from the individual level. You have to consider how these things affect everyone en masse. That's what you need to criticize, is how it affects everyone. And applied en masse, something just like making text for you to try and explain stuff rather than it just finding, because if AI is able to explain to you a math problem, how a math problem works, well, doesn't that mean that there was an explanation for that math problem somewhere already that it got it from? Why can't it just give you that? All right, I think that's all I got to say. Yeah. All right, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.